Next up, Steve Abel.
Mr. Speaker. Steve Abel. Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I stand in support of this bill on behalf of Te Pāti Kakariki, the Green Party. I think it's important for us to fill the gaps for those who have served New Zealand in various contexts around conflict and military service, including UN peacekeeping. I remember talking to a veteran who was on board the ships, I think it was the Pukaki, that went to Christmas Island in 1958 for the British nuclear testing and was exposed to radiation. He was one of the 10 servicemen on board the vessel who was tasked with the job of spraying down the fallout after it had landed on the ship. And he said he was the last of those 10 still alive. And he was not recognised because he had never actually been in warfare for that service, even though it cost him his friends and cost them their lives because of the radiation exposure. This sort of bill helps to capture all of those who have served in such a manner as to give themselves for supposedly the good of the country. One thing I find concerning, though, Mr. Speaker, is in all the background documents, there's sort of a glaring absence, and it's one that the previous speaker alluded to, is that there's no mention of the New Zealand wars. Now, I believe that the proposed wording for the new amendment, which says commemoration of the contribution of all those who have served New Zealand in time of war or warlike conflicts, would capture those in the New Zealand wars. Certainly, it would capture tangata whenua Māori who served in the New Zealand wars, and it is right that it should do that. It mentions other conflicts, as I've said. It also mentions, for example, those who served in the Home Guard. Well, I can't think of a better example of the Home Guard than the tangata whenua Māori who defended New Zealand from 1845 to 1872 against British invasion. They certainly must be included. And I find it concerning, Mr. Speaker, that there's sort of a silence in the background documents and the commentary on that inclusion. For context, Mr. Speaker, we know the great sacrifice that New Zealand soldiers, the great losses of New Zealand soldiers in the First and Second World Wars, and particularly we know of the Māori Battalion. Those wars saw around 336 Māori died in the First World War and 649 died in the Second World War. But it is estimated that in the New Zealand wars, around 2,154 Māori died and 745 British or colonialist or kupapa soldiers died. This is a significant number. Those wars from 1845 to 72 ran for 27 years, Mr. Speaker. That is a huge part of our war history in this country. That is essential to understanding the history of New Zealand, the colonial history, and we should move ever more boldly as we recognise that part of our history to acknowledge those who died in the New Zealand wars. I just want to reflect on the nomenclature of New Zealanders because, of course, the first group of people to ever have the term New Zealander applied, whether they had sought to have it or not, were tangata whenua Māori. They were referred to as the New Zealanders. And so both in terms of time, the first New Zealanders, and in terms of nomenclature, the first New Zealanders are Māori. And it seems that this will be captured by the legislation, but I would love, Minister, if there was more explicit acknowledgement and clarification, certainly I'll put it to you in the Committee of the Whole, explicit clarification that this legislation now acknowledges those who served and died in the New Zealand wars. Mr. Speaker, war in the end serves nobody, we know that. I sometimes feel remiss at Anzac Day commemorations when there's a glorification of it, when I know the soldiers, when you read their diaries who returned from that First World War, they wanted to make sure it never happened again. And we should always remember that it is an absolute last resort to go to war, especially in the times we are in now. Mr. Speaker, thank you.
Mr. Speaker.
Well, it was very interesting with the reference of the New Zealand land wars.
Do you want me to comment?
Yes, please do.
I have no issue with what he's said at all. It's part of our history. Acknowledge it. It's part of our history.
Agreed.
Can't get away from it. Don't. There's another mistake, and I would imagine if it's not if you think about Māori and you think about how if you go to all the places I've been around this country, dozens of maraes and that sort of thing, and you go into a marae and they look back in their history, their whakapapa, and they look at they're so proud of their service, no matter where those people have served. Māori have been an incredible contributor to defence in this country. It should be acknowledged, even if that's just 27 years. He talked. The MP talked about. I would have no issue of that being included. Why can't it? If it's still in discussion, include it. There seems to be a really good bipartisan discussion going on about this whole thing.
Yeah.
So why not?
Yeah.
Put it right.
Yeah.
Put it right now.
Thanks for watching. Make sure you're subscribed to our Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, TikTok. Who's got the order, paper podcast? YouTube, Twitch, Instagram, TikTok. Who's got the order, paper